Hi, I'm Ashley Swartz, CEO of Furious Minds. This is our weekly segment for Beat TV. I'll be a little bit longer than last week. We've done one, but it is new front and upfront season, so you'll be seeing us a lot more in the next couple weeks. Let's start with the NewFronts, because that's where we're at. We just sort of wrapped it up, right? The IAB organizes the NewFronts now, and this year's 2014. They preempted it by doing a consumer online video survey, and they released that research in April. And there's some interesting stuff that was a great way to sort of tee up this year's events, right? They found that new and original content is one of the things that's really driving online audiences. And the thing that they're citing more than anything is the original series as why they liked online video more than primetime television. 3 times more often that was the reason. Social media is a big part around audience behaviors for online original content. Not only is it driving discovery, but we see that audiences are using social media 52% of the time during viewing experiences versus 38% of the time for primetime television. And this is where the younger audiences are. They're definitely indexing and skewing here, right? 52 million Americans right now are watching original scripted online video. And 39% of the 18 to 34-year-olds are watching original online video content. And it skews higher for males as well, with 25% of the male population in the US watching original online video content. There was some interesting qualitative stuff as well, right? Some of the qualitative research showed that original video is more, becoming more normalized. It's sort of mainstream, right? And this is driving a lot of audiences. And a big part of that is because of the higher production value and the fact that it's perceived sort of equal or at parity to primetime television content. Also is control, right? The fact that people can watch it whenever they want on any device in particular was a big part of it. And the fewer amount of ads and the control over the ads they're viewing was also sort of came in third as the reason that original scripted content is really preferred. But what does this mean? Well, I think what's really interesting is that if you look at this research, it shows that at the end of the day, these guys knew it, right? They knew it going into it. If you look, it was actually showed in the NewFronts last week. And the big takeaway is that the NewFronts look like, smell like more than ever like television, right? But the reality is that at the end of the day, in TV, the shows and content they talk about, television broadcasters and programmers are going to produce that content regardless of whether or not it's actually optioned or paid for by an advertiser. And that's still the big difference between the NewFronts and the upfronts. The economics also are a little bit suspicious if we compare that. So just to give you a sense of it, online video is about a $5.7, $5.8 billion industry, right? About 17% of that value, or it's estimated about $1 billion this year, will be moved and committed in the NewFronts. But the cost of it is about $50 million. If we look at the upfronts comparatively, which is the inspiration for this sort of event, TV is about a $70 billion business. About 29% of that is committed during the upfront business cycle. And the upfronts cost about $120 million to produce, estimated. So we're looking at a $70 billion industry, costed about $120 million to produce this event, and a $5.8 billion industry paying about $50 million to produce it. So the economics are a little bit off. I'm going to do some highlights, right? And just sort of pick the Furious Best in shows, because I think they're, we have some interesting ones. So I'm going to start with sort of a list of priority of those that I think, kind of overall made our heart smile. Start with Vice, right? They're renewing all their HBO series. They are making a big splash. And at the end of the day, I just think that Vice deserves the best in show for making the most of the internet and staying on brand, right? They're taking risks. They're doing things on the web that they can never do on television. And that's one of the reasons that I think they absolutely hands down deserve the overall best in show. And, their new food series, which is hosted by rapper Action Ranson, really made my heart smile because of its title. Fuck, this is delicious, right? They take risks, and I think they deserve to be commended for that. And the notoriety they're getting in the industry and making waves is because they take risks and they stay on brand. YouTube just, overall, omnipresence, right? I mean, they really do sort of get the best in digital overall because they are part of every major content creator and digital player of the NewFronts show, right? They announced a partnership with DreamWorks. Some of the stuff they're doing, they're partnering with Comscore and Nielsen, and they've rolled out Google Preferred, right? They're hiring great talent consistently, and they're sourcing talent from the web, which makes them sort of, I think they have a lot of integrity there in that regard, right? They're crowdsourcing their content and their artists from the web itself. AOL announced 16 shows, right? They're kind of best in being predictable, I think, right? Rinse and repeat, right? They're predictable. You know what they're going to do. They're reliable. And I think they're a safe place for brands. And their syndication platform with AOL on actually gets the audience and the reach, right? They hired a lot of TV guys this year as far as who was actually coming and participating participating in their production, which means a lot of brand safety for folks. Crackle's doing interesting things, TV talent as well, right? They're doing original scripted series. They kind of keep reinventing themselves, but they're hiring some great talent. I think they're going to do some good things. Hulu's renewing all of its original 2013 series. They had some good talent from TV as well there. But their big thing was they announced an interactive ad unit where midstream, you're going to be able to order a pizza from Pizza Hut with an interactive ad unit. So midstream content commerce, right? Peter Naylor made an interesting comment, who's the head of sales now for Hulu, that we are marketing our originals like you would expect cable and broadcast television would be marketing their content. Right. So again, Hulu's really taking the TV sort of DNA as a winning recipe. Yahoo producing TV content, committing to it. Their magazines got a lot of notoriety. They didn't really show their TV content, so no one really knows what's going to be there, but they talked a lot about it. Live concert every day, partnering with Live Nation. They're doing some interesting stuff, and they're investing. Microsoft, big hitters are Ridley Scott and Steven Spielberg partnerships. They're doing an interactive film called Possibilia. But at the end of the day, it's about Xbox. We know that the Xbox originals, they want to own the living room. So it is a platform play as much as it is a content play. Pop Sugar, just give these gals a high five, right? 11 returning series. They've got over 50 million live and on-demand views, but they're up 1,000% year over year. Make my heart smile. So they get the best, sort of for the little guy, right? The best underdog in show. And at the end of the day, they're investing in scripted series as well, which means that they've made it to the big time. The print guys also sort of came out of nowhere, and they're consistently making a great presentation, right? Time Inc. in particular, they're launching a video hub, which we've seen with a lot of the print guys. They're using their legacy print publications to sort of stay on par with what their content that they're producing as far as programming goes. They're drafting off those publications, which I think is a really good recipe, and they're focusing on reach and driving audience. Wall Street Journal, more of the same, but the reality is, they're sold out of their inventory for the next year at a $60 CPM. They're doing something right. They're consistent. They're reliable. Their content is good, and I think that brands align with them as a result of that. The New York Times introduced a new hub with 14 channels. I think they get best in show for quality, and their Vimeo partnership is going to give them a lot of reach and sort of extension of their audience. But at the end of the day, they are producing content that rises above and sort of gets outside of the noise and is consistent, has that Timesian aesthetic, and they are staying on brand for that. And I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. Condé Nast has 11 digital channels. They're launching a new platform called The Scene, right, with 100+ shows. But let's just pause for a minute. 1 billion plus views of Condé Nast content. They are the big hitters. So they sort of get the best in show as the big dogs now on The Scene that sort of came out of nowhere and nobody expected as a print guy to really deliver when they said they were doubling down on video and making the investment. Over 50% of those billion plus views are on mobile, and they're viewed as good partners by the industry. They're collaborative. People, they want to work with their brands, their agencies, and that goes a long way in actually garnering those TV investment dollars as well as those online video dollars. BuzzFeed, really great, but they get the best in show for the WTF award. Like, everybody walked away thinking it was an inspirational TED Talk, but nobody really knows what they're selling or what they're doing in video. Scripps, 125 new series, really interesting. They've got some partnerships, but they get the best in show for the classic, the throwback, right? I mean, they have Vanilla Ice and Rev Run. Okay, I love them just for that reason, right? I'm sort of sensing a little bit of nostalgia here. And then overall, best in show for the comeback is Digitas LBI. These guys are responsible for the NewFronts, right? This is my alma mater, my sort of former employer, and they have a place in my heart. They founded the NewFronts in 2008, and when they decided to extend it to Hulu and Microsoft and all those guys, these guys kind of, and the IAB came in and kind of like sort of gave them the Heisman and the long arm. And I think they got intermediated for a couple years, right? But at the end of the day, this year they made a comeback, and I'm so proud of them. They have 3 major announcements. The first with Google Preferred. They have a big announcement with BuzzFeed where they're doing this real-time sort of social feed, and it's face-to-face. They're putting their producers in the same room side by side with one another. And then lastly, Simple Reach for sort of real-time marketing stats. I'm really proud of them. I'm really happy of them, and it's well for them, and it's well-deserved. So that's kind of the NewFronts wrap-up from Furious, and we're excited to see what the upfronts are going to bring, because at the end of the day, given the production value of AOL, a few other folks, that and the fact that YouTube took over and Google took over Madison Square Garden, the TV broadcasters need to make some noise and write some checks. Thanks.